I want to start today off with a question. Have you ever heard of the term multi-potentialite or multi-passionate? Hello, bon dia, top of the morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is in the world for you right now. Hello and welcome to my channel. It's time, guys. It's time to talk about the life of a juggler. That's me. The multi-potentialite, juggling all these different interests and skills and not being able to narrow it down to one single thing. If this is you, stick around and let's have a chat. So about a year ago, I had a heart-to-heart with Gemini. Some of you might be more familiar with ChatGPT. Anyway, Gemini is the one that I usually refer to. And in this conversation, Gemini made it clear to me that what I am is a multi-potentialite. A multi-potentialite is someone with many interests and creative pursuits rather than just one single calling. If you have ever felt like you don't fit into the traditional box of having a single career or one lifelong obsession, you might be one. I'd always struggled with the idea that I can't seem to stick to one thing in life. Like I look at the majority of people around me and they have this clear path. They have this one thing that they excel at and they stick to it like their whole life. I seem to lose interest with one thing after a while, and I might want to come back to it later, but I need to balance my different things, like my different passions, my different hobbies, professions. I just don't have singular interest, or I get bored. And it used to frustrate me because I felt like I would never be really good at anything because I couldn't just sit with one thing long enough. And with that came a lot of worry and guilt, almost like I should be spending my time on one thing so I could master that skill and like maybe make a good earning off of it or create something beautiful through it. And I felt like I was wasting my time. So at a certain point, I started feeling like I was falling behind from my peers. I would see their endeavors growing and paying off in rewards, and I would feel like I was still climbing the ladder far below them in everything that I did. None of my things seemed to really be paying off with the same level of rewards that, in my opinion, they were receiving. So I was spending a lot of time comparing myself to others and feeling like I'm doing something wrong. So after my little chat with Gemini made it clear that I was definitely a multi-potentialite, I had a term, I could research it, like something substantial to try and understand my personality better and then own it. As in, I basically had discovered the tools to learn to master myself. It's like when I first found out there was such a thing as a highly sensitive person. Like with information, there's understanding. So if I just feel different, then I have no way to figure out why and what I can do about it and how I can maximize my strengths and minimize my weaknesses. But like just knowing the term was helpful because I could do a whole bunch of research. So what is it like as a multi-potentialite? I'll give you an inside look. So the one thing I always knew is that I wanted to be an actress. So I set out to study theater, and that was going to be my one main thing. But that didn't quite work out as I had hoped. So in order to actually make a living, I had to figure out other things to do, and I started making woodwork, like wall art for tourists mostly on the island. And that was becoming my primary income. After a couple of years of doing that, I felt like there was something missing, like the meaning in it was lacking. I started focusing more on my writing, and I took the writing of my memoir more seriously. And so I finally had a breakthrough where I had a substantial first draft. So then I was juggling my acting with the woodworking, with the writing, my photography, videography. And before long, I also started a YouTube channel, but one YouTube channel wasn't enough, so I started a second YouTube channel. And right now, in this moment, I have 3 YouTube channels. And then let's not even talk about my Instagram accounts. I mean, I don't even know how many I have, but there's one for my high sensitivity, there's one for my sobriety, there's one for my like personal everything life, one for my photography, one for my Curacao Curious channel. I think you get the idea. But I also take my hobbies very seriously. I'm committed to at least once a week rock climbing. I Monday mornings do my at-home Pilates. Once a week I do pole or silk fitness. I love spending time on my mountain bike or kayaking out at sea or paddleboarding. My pottery, sewing, piano, macrame. And oh yeah, I'm also pretty much a full-time gardener. I also try to make time for my at-home studies, like I'm working on a couple of online certified courses. And also trying to read a lot more, although last year I did better than this year so far, but the year's not over yet, so hopefully I can get a couple of books in. On a good day, I'm also spending some time learning other languages, like improving my Spanish or picking up Persian. And then a very important pastime is my Netflix binging. I mean, it's one of the best ways for me to just unwind the brain because I have this ever-thinking brain. With guided meditations, I can quiet it down, but sometimes Netflix is just the best medicine, you know? It takes me out of myself. It lets me take a breath. And last but not least, balance. I try to add meditation every day and spirituality, and I like to read up about that as well, and just kind of like grow in a spiritual manner and learn more about how to maintain even more balance, because all these years of meditating and seeking balance, I still feel quite unhinged most of the time. So my life literally feels like a juggle. And then next to that, obviously, is having time and showing up with tender love and care for my romantic relationship, for my interpersonal relationships with friends and family. And as a highly sensitive introvert, that's actually the hardest thing sometimes, is just my personal life. Balancing my energy so I can still interact and also be there for others, and show my boundaries when I need to protect my energy. And yeah, it's always just this fine balance between giving of myself and taking time for myself. So sometimes it feels like a lot, and it feels like nothing is paying off quite yet. Like, it kind of feels like things are up in the air because, for example, I just received a beautiful letter from my editor about my memoir, which is about my recovery from alcoholism. And now I have to put in a lot of unpaid time to finish the final draft. And so I'm investing a lot of time into this project that may or may not pay off one day, because I don't know if it will sell. I mean, I have no idea, it's my first book. And then sure, my woodwork, it pays the bills and it puts bread on the table, but it doesn't create the kind of income stream, the passive income stream that I'm trying to work towards, so that I can actually have the ideal life that I would like to have, rather than just the daily grind and the always minding the budget so strictly and not being able to travel. Like, I haven't traveled in 3 years now, and so there's just certain things that will affect the quality of life, and that's why I felt like I've been behind on my peers. My choices have been creatively rewarding, but financially not so much. So therein lies the struggle for this multi-potentialite. So right now I know of 2 multi-potentialite accounts on Instagram that have been very insightful, because A, it makes me feel like, you know, I'm not crazy, I'm not alone. And B, they give practical tips, because, you know, sometimes they're a step ahead in one facet of life, and then I don't have to learn slowly, tediously through trial and error. I can just try out their advice and see if it works for me as well. So that's why I'm here today sharing my story, because maybe you've also never heard of a multi-potentialite, and maybe this is you as well. And so now you have a term to search and have a conversation with the AI engines out there. So with this beautiful gift of being able to juggle so many different interests and passions, comes the curse of, well, there's only so many hours in a day, so if you spend them scattered, then you're gonna be maybe okay at many things, but maybe not excel in any one of them specifically. And yeah, that's hard for me sometimes because I want to be great at everything that I do. So I have to remind myself to have a lot of acceptance that if I want to do all these different things, that maybe I won't be great at them ever. I'll just be okay. Another pitfall of this is that it can make you feel absolutely paralyzed. Because if you wake up in a day and you haven't put your structure and you don't know what you're going to do, and you wake up thinking, what shall I do today? You go through the list of all the things that you want to do, all the things that you have to do. How do you make a choice? Before you've even gotten out of bed, you're completely exhausted from decision fatigue. So one thing I learned from one of the multi-potentialites that I follow is to set systems in place. Structure is your best friend. Now, I did it for a while and it was great, but I'm also not great at keeping with my promise to keep structure. So for me, it slowly faded away, and then I started feeling the lack of productivity, the fatigue, the indecision. I just generally start to feel overwhelmed by my life. And then I just want to throw my hands up in the air and be like, never mind everything, I give up. And then I start to spiral. Nothing's panning out. Why even bother? I'm never going to be great at anything. Stop. I learned a great tool in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that is when the thought of a craving comes, stop. Move a muscle, just change the course in your mind. Do something else. Don't entertain it. So when I'm spiraling out like that, I have to show up with self-compassion. And I'll slowly talk myself out of it. So I have this one voice saying, you're not good enough, you're never gonna make it in anything you do. And then the other voice saying, hold on, you've been doing your best. You're gonna have to be patient, your time will come, don't give up. You know, like success is when preparation meets opportunity. So if you bail out now, you will never have that aha moment. And yeah, so I just talk myself into sticking with the game and not giving up. And so I have these days where it's so overwhelming that all my energy just goes to keeping myself motivated. But hey, I guess that means I just need to grab a cup of hot chocolate and sit with myself and allow myself to breathe and just be. Not every day is made for the grind, you know? Tomorrow will be another day that I will slay at the game. But today, I just need to just be. So this video was a bit all over the place, but in a good multi-passionate fashion, you know? It fits. Let me know if you recognized yourself. Let me know if you'd already heard of this term. I mean, maybe I'm late to the game and everyone else knows. But I'm curious to hear from you regardless. Thank you so much for showing up, and remember to hold compassion for yourself. Ciao, ciao. So after it's just unclear. Yeah. Blah. Hello.